Be content to act and leave the talking to others. Baltasar. My friends, action. It's all about action. It is about you each and every day spending 10 to 15 minutes finding every practice trade opportunity, learning by doing. Let's jump into these charts. We see the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 up for the day along with Bitcoin. Gold and bonds are down. Let's jump, as we always do, into the S&P 500 first. Now, as I pointed out, since last week we had a green spinning top. We had above average volume. It opened lower than the prior close. That is a warning sign that there is a lot of indecision in the market. As we started this week off, we opened lower than the prior close, and we have not climbed above the weekly trend line that we dropped below. As we look, we can see that things really headed down strongly starting Thursday afternoon, but really Friday morning. And then since then, they've meandered, but again, climbing up a little bit, still staying below on this half-day chart, staying below the weekly. The 2-day is just a little doji something there, sitting. But again, look at all the volume on the 2-day chart for the last 6 days as things have been languishing. There is a great deal of indecision on what the market is going to do on the S&P 500. Now, I will tell you that our directional probability as far as the math goes, away from my looking at the Heikin-Ashi candlesticks and the volume, just the math is saying our directional probability is decently up. But again, that's taking all the prior movement into account. And again, where the force is still lingering there, but I'm telling you there's a great deal of weakness built into this. Now, did pop up today, 0.77%. That's pretty good, but it didn't get us anywhere near where we were last week, say Thursday morning. So we're continuing to watch. What are we watching for? We are watching for this week to end with a red spinning top or a red down candle, and most likely a red spinning top. If the market rolls over strong on Thursday and Friday, it may keep building and it may push through the weekly trend line. So again, we would just stay bullish. But if we do see a red candle forming here, we haven't had one in weeks and weeks. If we do see that starting to establish itself and it looks like the market is rolling over, then of course we're going to be looking to go short. And of course, those of you who are Patreon members and have taken our 3-part series, Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way, you can practice trade options. Or if you've also taken our inverse funds, How to Make Money When Markets Crash, you could get into something like SH just to give it a try. And SH, which is loading up very slowly, is the inverse fund. It's been going down for weeks on end as the fund itself, SPY, the S&P 500, has been going up. This is an inverse fund. So again, when the S&P rolled over starting back in February for a few weeks up through early April, you can see where it spiked up. Well, again, something for you to practice trade if it makes itself available. Hasn't done it yet. We're just watching, we're just waiting, we're just planning and plotting and seeing how things are going to go. Now, the cues, I can pretty much repeat what I said before. We're below the weekly trend line. We had decent volume last week, decent volume on the last 6 days. You know, this latest 2-day candle finished drawing today, still below the weekly trend line, below on both the 2-day and the half-day. Don't have as much volume here on the half-day over the course of the day today. But again, we will keep an eye on things and see how the week continues to go. Now, what's up with bonds? They're rolling down some today, really way down in the morning, recovered some in the afternoon, overall down 0.58%. We are up more than a coin toss on 20-year U.S. government bonds. I've been up for a while. I told you the pattern I saw with the interim low and a green spinning top. That almost always portends an up move. And the opposite is true. When you see an interim high with average volume and you see a red spinning top now, You know I don't like this when you have such crazy volatility. You may never get back to the low. You want, again, a decent green spinning top on an up move, a decent red spinning top, not a crazy one with so much volatility that it's just psycho. You don't want that. But when you see regular, just, a decent size one without crazy ranging, that's telling you that the market is signaling it's going either down on a peak or up on a bottom. But that's what we're watching as bonds are continuing to move up third week after the interim low. Nice big candle, decent volume so far, just a little bit below average volume. Some sign of weakness here with that little, you can see just that little wick on the bottom. And of course, the red volume means it opened lower than the prior close. And of course, that all comes from what? That big surge down, which it recovered from in the afternoon. Now, let's look at when I say recovered from the big surge down, not all the way up, but cut a lot of that out. Now, let's look at gold. Gold, again, my friends, it has been ranging. We had all those days starting the morning of Wednesday, July 23rd, where gold just pounded down, then started moving up Friday. Moved up last Friday morning, afternoon, Monday morning, afternoon, Tuesday morning, afternoon, and then we see it pulling back a little. Again, don't have much of a trend line here, have a green candle, not a whole lot going for us. Don't have a lot. Just waiting for gold to sort its way out. And again, that also shows in our directional probability that, of course, all you Patreon members have already been sent. I try to send that out to y'all before I record the show, but it's in your trade execution summary grid. And, of course, you can read all about the 5-day plus ETF trading analysis and execution plan on all 5 of our ETFs, where we break down price direction prediction, the best trade entry point, strategic profit exit point, expected move, back test results, explaining where we see that and why with the back test accuracy in the Heikin Ashi candlesticks, key candle patterns, and differences in agreements, along with the trade instructions for a practice trade. Remember, we're not a stock calling service. We're an education firm, not a gold or Bitcoin or bond calling service. But that is where we are on gold. Just don't have any predictive capability with this sideways slide up and down, back and forth. And that's good to know, because again, if you don't have a trade, you don't trade. First rule of trading, don't lose money. Second rule of trading, don't lose money. Third rule of trading, make money. Let's jump into, lastly, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ETF. It's a pretty flat trend line, not much of a trend line there. The directional probability, it is more than a coin toss. Down is what we're showing. And again, that's ranging, back and forth. Let me look. Yeah, it's been up earlier in the week, down now. Where am I with Bitcoin right now? My friends, I don't know. We had that interim high. I'm waiting to see some acceleration in a down move. Bitcoin was up today, 1.46%. You can see it was up in the morning, about the same in the afternoon. Lots of volume in the morning, staying below. I don't even like to call that a trend line. When you don't have a trend line, you don't have a trade, my friends. There's no trend line here. It's almost horizontal. When you see a horizontal trend line, like you see in Bitcoin, like you see in gold, that's not a trade. That's waiting for something to happen. So that's really where we are on both gold and Bitcoin. When you have questions, problems, concerns, we love to hear from you. cw@chartingwealth.com. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth and Patreon members. Thank you for your support. God bless.